You're going to have to haul, let me tell you.
Well, if the ace stays as sharp against the lights as he was on that pass, nothing but good things face he and the minor team. Let's go to Steve Evans with the loser, John Lombardo.
Sometimes, as little John Lombardo well knows, you just have to take your lumps in this sport. You've got to be tremendously disappointed, yet excited what the future holds for you here.
Oh, yeah, the car is running excellent, a lot of potential in it. It was a little rich, that run, and obviously I was a little late, but I think we're going to win some races.
Any of that have to do with maybe not being quite used to the car yet?
Well, I think the more runs you make in the car, the more familiar you get, the better job you'll do. There's no question about that. We had 3 tenths going in that race. I mean, he had run a 590 and we had run a 560, so I was by no means going to even attempt to cut a light and chance a red light. I didn't think he'd pull off that much.
See you on down the road, John.
Okay, thank you.
A very cool man, John Lombardo. As we go to the next pairing of funny cars, a couple of guys who are among the hardest working, most devoted men in this business, John Force and Dale Pulte. 2 men who have campaigned virtually everywhere funny cars have ever run, Steve Evans.
Boy, you called it, Brock. They have clawed their way to the upper echelons of professional drag racing, and now both of them wearing the corporate signatures that mean they've got, finally, the financial support they need to be a world champion. John, brute force, Bellflower, California, up against Dale Pulte, another Southern California native. In fact, Pulte goes back to the days of Mickey Thompson. He was driving a funny car when he was 19 for Mickey Thompson. John Forrest was a truck driver full-time, a racer part-time. Now, the only truck he has to drive is the 18 rig that hauls his funny car on down the highway. Dale Pulte, there were years when they used to haul produce in the winter with their semi to help pay their racing bill. Not any longer.
Not so now, as you say. These are 2 of the classiest rigs in the business. Beautifully prepared funny cars. And it really, in this particular case, I think it'd be very difficult to make a choice between either one of these guys. No underdogs here, I wouldn't say.
No. And the biggest news off-season was that Austin Coyle, the man who co-owned and rented the famous Chi-Town Hustler and Frank Hawley to 2 back-to-back world titles, parked that car and went to work for John Forrest, rumored to be the biggest crew chief contract ever. Pulte had a disastrous season last year. He burned 1 car to the ground in testing. It seemed like every time he went down the racetrack, all the connecting rods would come out right and the lights costing $5,000 or $10,000. They think they have found the problem. The thing that was causing all of that misfortune, they hope they have eliminated this year. John Force has been a bit erratic on the starting line. I think with the addition of Austin Coyle, he could just worry about the business of the sport and driving the race car and forget all of the mechanics. Concentrate on that tree. Both drivers with a great lead, but Pulte stretches out a car length 100 feet out and hangs on to at least half of that. Dale Pulte wins it 574 to a 576. Incredible racing.
2/100ths of a second decide the race in Dale Pulte's favor. It couldn't be much closer than this. Let's have another look at it. Dale Pulte, far lane. Looks like he might leave maybe a wink quicker than Force, but that's hard to say. Force comes on at mid-track, but Pulte holds on to win in a race that probably, if it wasn't for the electronic clocks, would have been declared a dead heat. Steve is with the winner.
Well, after all the bad luck Dale Pulte had last season, it's good to see you down here going into the semis. A 574 to a 576.
Boy, I'm glad of it. Boys all worked hard the last round. We broke a rod and went through a tire, and we barely made it up there for the last run. Had a real good crew up there helping us.
You had to change engines?
Had to change engines, had to put a different set of cylinder heads. That was just we only put some alcohol through it and warmed it up and stuck it in line, so we're happy.
A little bit of a Hail Mary approach on that one, huh?
You got it. So.
Hey, Dale Pulte goes into the semis by a whisker.
A whisker it is, Steve, and a great pairing it's going to be. Ed McCulloch and Dale Pulte. Pulte has lane choice. The other pairing, Al Segrini versus Rick Johnson in the Hawaiian. Now, let's go to Ed Bruce in the pits.
Brock, I'm sure you know from your own experience that between 1955 and 1960, the National Hot Rod Association sponsored only one event, the Nationals. First held in Great Bend, Kansas, it was an opportunity for racers from all over the country to come together, to exchange ideas and concepts, to make friends, and naturally to compete. Then in 1961, NHRA sponsored its first West Coast national event, appropriately named the Winter Nationals. By 1961, the facilities had grown. Temporary grandstands now lined one side of the track, allowing spectators a view of the entire quarter mile. Overall, the Pomona Strip had gone from homegrown to big time in an impressive manner. That first Winter Nationals saw a great potpourri of competitors, including Jack Christman defeating Tom McEwen for the top eliminator title. and Mickey Thompson winning the middle eliminator title in a Pontiac-powered dragster. Other champions that day included Dick Manns, Johnny Loper, and Don Nicholson. There's a line of people waiting here today who would like to add their names to the roll of winners of the Winter Nationals. Let's go back to the action. Steve?
And these days, Ed, there's as much action in the pit area as there is out on the racetrack, as world champion Joe Amato puts the finishing touches on this big supercharged Hemi racing engine. And it better perform, because he will be up against Don Garlits in the semifinals. We'll be back with those Top Fuel semis.
For 25 years now, these San Gabriel Mountains have echoed to the spectacular sounds of the great drag racers that have run on this historic Pomona Raceway in their shadow. It was in 1980 that the driver in the near lane staged one of the most spectacular races here in the finals. She beat her former crew chief and arch rival Connie Coletta to win the Winter Nationals. This lady, Shirley Muldowney, three-time world champion, added to her legend. But last summer, outside Montreal, Quebec, massive injuries were involved in a spectacular crash at 260 miles an hour in a qualifying run. The car shredded at high speed, terribly injuring the world champion, Shirley Muldowney. Her leg badly mangled in the crash. Since then, it's been a long and arduous recuperation, first in hospitals, then at her home in Mount Clemens, Michigan. Recently, Steve Evans went there to check on her progress.
When the surgeons are done and the therapists are done, what then, Shirley? Can you look ahead that far?
I'm trying to. I have hopes and dreams, and I'm a pusher, and I would like to drive the race car again. That's what I really want to do. But I'd like to be able to do it and feel comfortable. I'm not too sure that's going to happen for me, but we'll know here in a few months.
A Top Fuel dragster again?
Oh, yes. That's where my love is, in Top Fuel, and that's what I want to. I want to drive the king of the sport.
Well, let's hope we once again see this signal as number one from this great lady and this great competitor, Shirley Muldowney.
And no one won her back more than Big Daddy Don Garlits. He was the first to sign her competition license when no one else would. They later went on to have their feuds both on and off the track. But last week in Phoenix, after Garlits survived that 260-mile-an-hour crash, Shirley called him and said, "Big Daddy, would you build me a car if I race again?"
How about that? These fiery competitors oftentimes have their ins and outs in relationships, especially on the racetrack, but when it comes down to the hardcore of things, they are a fraternity. They're always together when one of them gets in trouble.
And what a confrontation here. Don Garlits in the far lane. We've told you the story before. A week ago, the car was upside down in a billion pieces. He's up again, one of the slickest machines ever created. Joe Amato, the reigning world champion.
And the lady in red helping Joe back up is his ever-present wife, a lady who is so closely involved with Joe that she almost rides in the car with him. Earlier, Steve had a chance to talk with her about his upcoming race with Don Garlits.
1 year ago at the Winter Nationals, Don Garlits appeared to be headed for the winner's circle until he ran into Joe Amato, who put him away. Joe went on to become the world champion. And this is Jerry Amato. You got a shot at Big Daddy again here, Jerry. How do you feel about it?
Steve, I feel good going into it, but he's been around a long time, and he really knows what he's doing.
There are some drivers, when they race Garlits, Beck comes to mind, that maybe he psychs them out, but Joe doesn't appear to have that problem.
No, I don't think so. He's pretty aggressive, and he's ready for him.
Now, in the elapsed time department, you've got an edge.
Yeah, a little bit, but he can still gain on him.
Okay, good luck to you, kid.
Thanks, Steve.
Well, this is going to be an interesting confrontation. Really, essentially, the youngster versus the old pro. But boy, the youngster has got himself a piece of machinery that's going to be hard to beat, especially when you remember, Steve, that Garlits' car was bent up like a pretzel just a week ago.
There's Steve Duretti. Amato leads first. He goes straight up in the air, smoking the tires at the same time. Garlits, something goes wrong. Now Amato shells an engine in the lights. This is an artillery convention, not a drag race. Jerry Amato, very concerned about her husband, but with that engine in the back where Don Garlits put him some years ago, Joe Amato should be okay. Boy, the motor is not okay, Brock.
What a race. I've seen 500 milers that didn't have this much action in it. A quarter mile worth of wild and woolly action. First, a big wheel stand by Joe Amato. Then he gathers it up. A lot of smoke suddenly comes out of Garlett's engine. He's out of it. And then into the lights. And there goes Amato's motor like a rocket. What a drag race. Amato wins it when he appeared to have it lost, Steve. It seemed as if Garlett was on his way to a sure victory. Then Amato wins it with a blown-up motor.
Well, the safety safari, as always, right on the scene. Joe Amato wins the race, but completely destroys an engine. Apparently, some of the shrapnel flattening the left rear tire. Joe, still with his helmet on here, staring where the supercharger used to be. Now, there are very strong restraint straps required to hopefully keep those superchargers near the engine, but apparently this one was just so violent that the straps, as strong as they are, could not handle it. So this is one of the few superchargers we've seen get away from the automobile with the restraints in place. Joe, that was just a violent one.
Yeah, it was violent, Steve. You know, we won the race, so that's the main thing. We got another motor, and hopefully we'll get back in and win this whole thing.
Boy, that's an expensive explosion. We're looking at $5 or $6 grand minimum there.
Yeah, more like 10 probably, but you know, that's racing. You know, you have to be willing to take the good with the bad. I'm glad we won the race. You could have lost the race and blew the motor up too, and that'd be a lot worse.
Tell me about how it felt in the car when it let go.
Well, first of all, the car did a real big wheel stand. I don't know if you realized that, and I was tempted to shut it off because it was starting to go to the left, but then I got it down through there, and then it just made a violent move. I saw Garlett, something happened to his car, and he broke or went up and burned the pistons, and we got around him, and then next thing it went boom. The car just jumped right off the ground. My main objective then was to get the chute out and get it stopped, get the fuel shut off, and just try and stop in case there was something really bad went back there. But it all stopped pretty good. All the safety stuff worked.
Well, you did a fine job of driving, too. Wow.
Well, I'll tell you what, Joe Amato could write a small book about that particular race. Well, all kinds of action, Steve.
One of the darndest ones I've ever seen, Brock, and the biggest single fire in a blower explosion in the history of this sport. I assure you, that was just incredible.
Well, that's the last, unfortunately, we'll see of Big Daddy Don Garlett. Joe Amato, of course, will be back. Now, let's go to the next pairing here. Top Fuel semifinal, and it's going to be a good one.
The quickest driver of the event, Larry Minor, at 5.40 seconds as lane choice. He's closest to our camera. In the far lane, the defending champion, Gary Ormsby, Auburn, California. The brand new car debuted here with a lot of interesting technology. Ormsby and Minor.
Interestingly, though, we've seen a trend. This lane nearest the camera where Larry Minor is seems to produce winners. The other guys will run very quickly, but the winners seem to come from this lane. Not this time, though. It's going to be Gary Ormsby. He runs it out at a good, solid 5:57, 257 miles an hour to go on into the finals against Joe Amato for the second year in a row. It started all even. Minor and Ormsby out together, but then Larry Minor up in smoke, and that's the end of it. Too much power. Ormsby on to win.
Well, here you see the two combatants in the final round of Top Fuel. Joe Amato overlooking at this man, Gary Ormsby's cars, and he wished his engine looked like that instead of the supercharger on top of it. Gary Ormsby at 5.57, and Gary, your second Winternationals final in a row. You won it last year. Can you do it again?
Well, we're going to do our best, Steve.
You know Amato's got a fresh engine for that car. He will not be easy. This will not get him down.
No, I don't think that'll make any difference. He'll put another engine there, probably just as good as the one he's got. But I think we're in pretty good shape here. We finally got it to leave without shaking me to death.
You know, it's cooling off, and historically, this track is not as good in the final round.
That's true. Of course, we're familiar with it from last year, and hopefully we can make the same corrections to get us down here without shaking, or get us down here first this time.
You certainly did do it last year. So his crew chief, Lee Beard, will indeed have this car ready.
Well, there you have it. Ormsby versus Amato, with Ormsby having the lane choice. And right now, the final applause for this man, Big Daddy Don Garlett. This brand new Keith Black Hemi engine is being lowered into the car that Joe Amato hopes will carry him to his first ever victory here at the Winternationals. Remember, his last engine blew apart in beating Don Garlett's. Right now, Steve Evans has rounded up the man and the legend who Joe defeated.
Well, considering that a week ago to the hour, Don Garlett's was upside down in his race car in the Arizona mud, this has still been a pretty productive weekend.
Yes, it has, Steve. We're just really happy to be here, and we had a little problem there against Joe and broke a blower drive, but the car ran good today, and we're real tickled with it, and we're going to put a back half on it before Gainesville, and it'll barely be up to par then.
You know, I thought you might have been beating coasting there for a minute.
I was coasting a long ways, and he must have saw that I had shut